Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine, giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. Welcome to take two of today's episode. This is take two because my partner, Blaine Birch, the CEO of Dry Run, the best cash flow forecasting software on the planet, has an internet glitch up in Canada.
Definitely not the best internet connection on the planet. It died. It is gone. So I am running this. It'll be a little test today because I am running this tethered to my cell phone. We'll see how good the cell network is, but actually so far it's been pretty good. So we'll give it a go and see what happens.
Hey man, just give her.
Just
if
give
you're
her.
Going to give her, give her.
Exactly. That's see, you're learning a little Canadiana there.
That is still my favorite Canadian saying. I think it's my favorite. It's better than take off, you hoser, and those type of things. It's better than those. Just give her is probably my favorite.
It's actually one of mine too. And I don't even know I'm saying it, but it's just ingrained. Love it. Yeah.
You know what's funny is I think we still have, and I've had friends buy this shirt because it's funny on mikeandblaine.com, right? We have a merch store. I know you're thinking about there's no way these guys have a merch store. Oh, absolutely. Yep. We got shirts. We got, all kinds of stuff. There is a Just Giver shirt. Or just giving her. I think it's like just giving her.
Just giving her, yeah.
Right? We're just giving her right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's the shirt. You can go out there and get it. You can actually help us out from maybe even some of these internet glitches, right? By sponsoring the show, right? You can be if you're an internet company out there, if you're Spectrum, if you're Charter, if you're Rogers, and you're out there and you're like going, we have to help small businesses. This is one way you can do it is by providing us with the best cell and internet services in the world. You can sponsor this show by providing those services. What do you think?
That would be amazing. And for the rest of you out there, you can go to mikeandblaine.com and you can buy us a beer. $5 an episode. We will talk about you. We're going to mention you. We're just going to talk about our beer sponsors in just a second here. But first, we got to see, what are you drinking today?
All right. So have you ever went back in time and rewatched a show?
One of our shows.
No, not our shows. Just a regular, regular ass series or show.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going back through Mad Men. You remember that?
Yep.
It's about an advertising agency in New York. Yep. One of the things I love about that is the way they think through the marketing problem. And I know it's a TV show and I know it's written, but occasionally you go, damn, that's really genius how that happened. And one of my favorite ones, is how they come up with changing the name from the wheel to the carousel for the Kodak slides that you put in,
okay.
Right? And so if you watch it, there's a lot of other craziness in there, but in this one, is like that. Well, one of the episodes was about a younger kid that's dad is uber rich and give this kid a trust fund. And the kid wants to take Highlight, the sport?
Yep.
Highlight.
The only reason I know it is because it was on the start of Miami Vice. The intro thing.
There you go.
Vice,
it's exactly that, right? And this guy's I think he's down in Miami. His dad's up in New York. And before he wants to spend $1 million in 1960-ish, right? $1 million making Highlight the national pastime, more popular than baseball in the 60s. Right? That's what he's trying to do, this kid.
Good luck with that.
And the guys that own the advertising agency know his dad, and they're like dude, we can't take this guy's $1 million on this.
Yep.
And the dad comes in and says, yeah, take it. He needs to learn a lesson. Charge him. Probably charge him double. I don't care. That's basically what the dad's saying is he's got to learn a business lesson. Well, because I just watched that this week, this was on the shelf.
Yeah. I'm
like, wait a second. I don't think I've heard Highlight once in a decade. Now I hear it twice in a week. I got to get the Highlight IPA. This is from Cigar City Brewery in Tampa.
Yeah.
Right. So pretty cool. I know
I've
that's
had
a
that beer.
long-winded thing saying, here's what I'm drinking.
Yeah. It's a good beer. I've had that beer. It's been a few years, but I do remember that. And Cigar City is a very good brewery. So that's a good pick today, man. It's nice. Good pick.
Yeah, right on.
All right. So I just did a quick beer run yesterday, and I actually got one of my favorites. And I thought, back in Edmonton, I got to support a local brewery, see if we can get it to go clear. And this is Omen Brewing Spilt Milk. I probably featured on the show a dozen times, maybe not a dozen, but quite a few. I love it.
I've seen it a few times.
It is such a delicious beer. It is so good. It's only 4.5%, so it's like a Guinness kind of level beer, but it's delicious. And I'm just happy to be back in town and see, hey, here's some of the old favorites here. So I had to grab that today and dig into it. So it's and I'm enjoying it. It's a great beer.
Huh, right on. All right. So, hey, speaking of great beer and great beer sponsors, we got a couple of those.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Karen Harrison, who has a best-selling book on Amazon. She's up in Michigan at 3S Smart Consulting. She helps businesses find hidden cash in their businesses. So, hey, go check out her book on Amazon, Stop Growing Broke, Start Growing Profits. Go check out her website, 3S Smart Consulting. And, hey, tell her that you need to find hidden cash and she'll help you.
And Devin, the biggest LSU fan on the planet, also Netflix superstar. Thanks again, Devin, for supporting the show. We always much appreciate it. And we got some really good beer going, courtesy you guys today.
Yeah, well, what else we got? Neighbor Pat. Neighbor Pat always brings down the beer, right? He just came in here. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've seen it. The Spurs are kicking ass, man. Oh. San Antonio Spurs right now, they're kicking ass in basketball. Just moved on to the next phase of the NBA playoffs. He and I sat in the brand new chairs the other night and watched the playoff game where they clinched, the first round of the playoffs. So
nice.
They were Pat. He always comes with the beard.
Awesome. I will pull for San Antonio Spurs from now on. I don't know any NBA teams except for Toronto Raptors, who I guess I'd play for. Hometown.
What NBA team do they have in Edmonton?
There's no NBA teams. There's only one in Canada, and it's out of Toronto. And so we all hate Toronto till it's the Blue Jays or the Raptors, and then suddenly we're big fans. So that's just how it works in Canada.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's all you got. You used to have the Montreal Expos. Mm-hmm. I actually like them.
Yeah, big fan. I've seen some Expo games.
Just have that.
I've seen some Jays games. Seen them live when they were back in the day. Gary Carter, my favorite player back in the day. Yeah, it's kind of sad they're gone, but it's a hockey country. That's where everybody's heart is lies on the rink, I think. So.
Yeah. So if you missed my whole solo 7 minutes while Blaine was figuring out his internet, I talked about, what the show's about, what we do, those type of things. But I want to reiterate that this is a show called Business, Beer, and BS. And basically what we're trying to do is tackle the topics that we talk about on a daily basis, the things that impact us or the things that we're dealing with, right? Which makes it always relevant, always today, always now. And it isn't theory. It isn't concepts. It isn't educational. It's what we do, right? It's the actual real life actions that we're taking or the thoughts that we have as owners of businesses. So, I think that is what makes this show unique. The beer part of it is just because we're drinking beer during it. That's it.
Justify
right? And sometimes you can tell. Sometimes you can tell, right? Sometimes you can tell. Yeah. And then lastly is the BS. Well, if we don't know where else to go, we just make it up. Right? So you're going to get a mix of real and made up, and you have to tell which is which.
Yeah. Good luck with that. That's the key.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. Blaine froze up again.
I think I'm okay this time. It is, but I will say, driving this poor little cell phone. But I think it's actually holding in there okay. So I think I'll be all right. But if I pause, expect me to come back because I think I'm going to be all right.
All right, so I'm hearing that cell phones today have more computing power than what they used to go to the moon.
Oh,
so that is
by 1,000 miles. I don't even think, I think it was like the first cell phones had more computing power. These things now, I can't even imagine. They probably had more, there's probably more power in my phone than the Houston control room by 1,000-fold.
Yeah. All right. So today's topic is all about listening to somebody's title or anything about what they're doing and not being able to figure it out.
Yeah.
I was introduced to a person last week whose title was Chief Integrator. And in my technical knowledge of hierarchies of businesses, I'm going, okay, what does that do? I don't get it. Yeah. I mean, what do you integrate? I mean, well, what is that? I mean, businesses are inherently integrated by nature. I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about is why that happened.
Well, and I see the same problem with people as I do with businesses. And you can see almost immediately whether it's an internal logic and it's or is it actually external? Is it made, like, are you communicating with your potential clients? And is that the number one purpose, is to communicate with your clients? Or are you trying to express yourself in some often misguided idea that what you call yourself actually matters, when really what you call yourself is there for communication purposes. It's not self-expression purposes. And you see it all the time. And I agree with you, like even reading your description, when it looks like bullshit, my spidey sense is tingling through the roof. And I think that happens more and more and more because if it, it looks like BS and smells like BS, guess what? It is, right? We've talked before that I don't really care how what you call yourself. What I care about is what have you done? That's what I care about, because what you've done is going to tell me a lot more about what you're able to do than what you want people to think you can do. Two very different things.
Yeah, well, where I first saw this is like on important. When you said it was what you call yourself is a communication. It tells me almost, or should tell me almost instantly, what this person does. I got confused early on at Finagraph because everybody I talked to at the bank was a vice president. Yeah. It didn't matter who I talked to; they're all vice presidents. I'm like, "You're vice president. What? What do you do?" Well, I sell banking products, or I'm the branch manager, which means I make sure it gets opened and closed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well that's a different. I think branch manager is good enough. You run the branch.
Yep.
Not vice president. But then it took me almost 3-4 months to figure out that wasn't the level that can make decisions. I had to go to senior vice president to be able to get a decision. I'm like, okay, at least I know now when I'm looking at titles that if you're a vice president, you're just kind of a worker bee manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
Up above that, I got to go to senior vice president.
Yeah.
And then I found out there was an executive vice president. I'm like, well, wait a second. I didn't realize that there was like levels of vice presidents until I was, working and trying to sell to banks.
Yeah. And what I will say, like as annoying as I that comes off to me, I understand why they're doing it from a business perspective, because people want to deal with, I deal with the vice president. It elevates trust, and a bank is trying to build trust. There's a lot of places where you could erode trust by positioning yourself as something you're not. But I understand the sort of the tactic they had there anyway.
Well, what was funny is that it caused us and the company to change our titles. Right?
Yeah.
I had to change my title from vice president to senior vice president. Why? Because they don't want to deal with anybody else.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, we had to create a whole title hierarchy just so we could be recognized by the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very.
Have you ever heard of that? I mean, think about it. I didn't realize that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when I started thinking, oh, these titles are bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can call ourselves anything we want to. Right. You know what the hardest thing is for me to call myself right now is CEO. I don't feel like I'm a CEO. I'm more likely to say founder. I'm most likely to say cash flow Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But I don't try to make up some other craziness of.
Yeah. I like my title says co-founder and CEO, and co-founder is probably the most important part, but they need to know, I guess, the what, like, to me, it's clarity. It's like, okay, what part of the decisions are you responsible for? My co-founders are CTO. So people should not be coming and talking with me about some of the technology stuff. Right. But so to me, it's just all about clarity. And I remember no, this is going back probably almost 20 years, but we, back when we were growing our creative agency, we ended up on a trade trip to China. And I remember we had business cards, or actually I guess it was just me, and I was with a bunch of other entrepreneurs. My business partner wasn't with me at the time. And I think the title, I can't remember what the title was on my card, but it was like, I didn't want to have anything that sounded too whatever. And I remember distinctly on that trip getting home and saying, yeah, we got to change the titles to make more sense, because it was like it was an explanation everywhere I went, trying to explain, no, I'm actually one of the owners and one of the, and the partner in the company and all that. And, I think we were trying to be clever at the time. I have no idea what I had. I don't think it was overly whatever, but I could tell that it broke. Like it was not part of a conversation you needed to have. And yet it was always this little barrier in these conversations. And so since then I've gone, oh, there's just no bullshit, just like clarity and communicating, so that it isn't a barrier. People just look and go, I know who I'm talking with. I know what you're responsible for. There you go. Right. It makes sense.
Yeah, and at some point, and I'm going to say it happened in the last 10 years, maybe the last 5 years, if I'm honest. At some point, titles became a marketing tool, not a description of what you do.
Yeah.
In my mind, right? Because I love founder, CEO. I get it.
Yep.
Founder, CEO, or CTO. I get it.
Yep.
But I think it became where simple wasn't as valuable as complex. The more complex I made my job seem, the more valuable you thought it was.
Well, now, okay, no. What I question is that true? Like, so in other words, I totally understand the logic of people changing their title because they want it to sound more valuable. They want it to sound elevated. They think it does. Does it actually have that effect on their potential customers? And that's what I actually really question. Are you actually, just like me back 20 years ago, constantly throwing a bit of a wrench or a little bit of friction, thinking that you're actually like elevating and sounding so include in that? Are you actually just eroding trust? And I think that's the question that, people have to ask themselves.
All right. So in practice and in use, I agree with you. It erodes trust when you're talking to a person. But I think what caused it, in my mind, is LinkedIn. Because people were trying to optimize their profiles for different searches and different things like that, where if they were looking for a job or they're trying to be, whatever the hell they're trying to do on LinkedIn, people started to adjust their titles and their roles and their descriptions to match some type of algorithm.
And not only that, I can tell, like it's people have searched, how should I create a LinkedIn file? And then there's been people that have written articles, and it's the blind leading the blind, because the so-called experts, and they've probably given themselves a title of LinkedIn integrator or whatever, right? Gives themselves some sort of title. And I actually think they give advice that they think sounds good. They have absolutely zero data to prove that it works. And the reason I say is because I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I go through LinkedIn profiles all the time. And the ones I trust, CFO, end of story. The ones I distrust is when their title is this long and it's like a laundry list of all the things they claim to do. And they've, and then they toot their own horn. It's like innovative and insightful CFO of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, other people can call you that. You can't call yourself that. There's a first thing I think all the time. And then they'll have just like, and I'm an investor, and I'm a this, and I'm a that. And they'll have like 10 tags. And somehow they think a laundry list makes them appear more valuable. And for me, from the outside, I'm like, you're a master of nothing. And you look like you're trying to do 50 different things, and you're not going to do any of them well. And my perception of it is really negative when I see that.
You just said that, and I'm like going, okay, damn, did I toot my own horn? I'm like looking at my LinkedIn profile, like going, oh shit, what did I say?
I don't even know what's on mine.
I said this.
I should check mine.
Well, so here's, what is my title? What the hell is my title? Oh, business cash flow consultant.
Clear.
That's what the title.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My description is helping accountants turn financial statements into confident advisory conversations.
Also clear.
Right.
Also clear.
Creator of the clear path to cash, teaching the fixed framework. Right. That's what I do.
What you do. Yeah. And there's no, you're not elevating it, and you're not making up terms. You're not making things up that no one's heard of. It's just very clear.
I did, but I trademarked it.
No, but you
But both of those things I use, I trademarked it, right? Like clear path to cash. Yep. I'm the creator. It's trademarked.
Yeah.
Fixed framework. I've trademarked that. So those are things I created and use and build.
Yeah. Which I think all of that makes sense. The only thing I think that that I would see valuable in your profile near the top, and it circles all the way back to one of my big filters today, because I've been, like kind of had conversations gone down the wrong path. I want to know what you've done. And to me, if you said, this is me, I've owned 12 businesses, or you give that one sentence, 2 sentence, I'm not claiming to understand small business. I've created and ran numerous small businesses in software and in this and this, right?
I think that's in the about section, which nobody's going to read anyway. But I think it's in there somewhere. If it's not, I'm terrible. But no, I get it. I totally agree. I mean, you want to know somebody. You know what? Now thinking about it, I shouldn't be business cash flow consultant. I should probably just put founder. All right. So my problem is CEO. Am I a CEO? I think I am, but
yeah,
it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real on a small business.
No, it doesn't. But then what are you going to put, right? Because I've always gone by that, because again, it's like, it sounded weird to me at the start. It doesn't anymore, just because whatever, that's what it is. It's when I said, when I was thinking, people just have to know who they're talking with and what responsibility I have. It's just communicating. Yes, I'm the one you talk to about that. Talk to them over here about that. I don't understand that part. It's just a clarity thing to me. So, and I think the thing is, I've had probably that trouble too. You equate CEO with, these giant multinational enterprises, because those are the most famous CEOs you hear of, like Tim Cook, CEO, right?
Yeah.
But I think you have to look at it the other way and say, there's only 10 of those guys around, hundreds of thousands of CEOs. And it's probably millions of CEOs. In other words, most CEOs are just literally the leader of a small business by far. So it's almost the opposite. If you're actually the leader of a multi-billion-dollar business, maybe they need a new term, because chief executive officer is basically like, is the guy that's responsible for this part in millions upon millions of businesses.
I'm going to ask Chelsea, right? Kind of what the difference, because there's 3 terms out there that I think we could throw around: founder, CEO, and you could use a president. Some people think they're the president of their company.
Some use the term president. I don't know if there's but I think, to me, the way that I would look at it is, a founder isn't necessarily operational. Like, you could be a founder of a business. Yeah, you might be on the board. You might even be like a director on the board, but not actually in an operational position. And I wonder if president is a similar thing. It isn't necessarily in the operations side. And I wonder if that's kind of the difference in the terms.
All right. So actually, chat, can I help you on this one? Founder is a permanent historical title, right? You always have it.
Yep.
If you take a business idea from 0 to 1, right?
Yep.
0 to 1, you're a founder. Then the difference between CEO and president is the CEO is more visionary. It's vision versus execution.
Okay.
So that's what they seem to think, right? That a chief executive officer is a top leader. The most highest ranking person, the CEO is, but not necessarily the person that does the work, right? Because the president is the operational leader, the one that does the day to day and executes on the CEO plan.
Yeah.
And probably I am. Yeah, if I look at it, I'm probably CEO and president of this company, and founder,
probably.
But that seems weird, right? You wouldn't put that on.
You wouldn't put that in there, and I think the reason that you have to sort of have both, I think, like, for me, the reason I have founder and CEO is because, like I said, the founder may not really be at all on the operational side. They may have distanced themselves from the business. Maybe they've even sold the business, but they have actually were a founder at some point. But I think there is a giant difference between a hired CEO and a founder that's the CEO. And I think that's really, really important, that there is a big distinction, that that this is the person that's, like you said, came up with the idea and taken it from 0 to 1, rather than has been hired to fill a role, and will probably be or could be a short-term sort of for hire, right?
Well, and the founder, generally knows how to get something started and probably has some experience with raising money. I don't care if it's bootstrapping through Series A. They understand you need money to get this thing started.
Yeah. Yes. That's unfortunately one of the skills you have to learn. And I think early on, there's so much vision involved in like, we've pivoted, like, there's a lot of that vision involved in that strategy of the big picture, getting the business to somewhere where it's successful. A lot of times founders, there's a certain point where they'll a lot of times step away from that CEO role, because it's like they get past the point of the 0 to 1, and it's the 1 to grow. Like, it's a different, I think it's probably a very different skill set at some point down the road, to take a business and just one that's alive, kicking, it's found its mark, it's got product market fit, everything else, but you're getting from E to F. Like, that's maybe a different role.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said. When I hear CEO or I hear CFO, I instantly know what their role is in the company. I know what they're responsible for. I know what their outcomes are. You kind of get it. And I think that's what a title should have, is at least these three things. I mean, one is uh, it's clear, like you said, clear. I also want simple language, right? Because I'm just kind of a simple language type of guy. And I want to be able to connect it to an outcome. Like, you're responsible for this.
Yeah.
So if that fails, I know it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's why I like those titles: CEO, CFO. What's the other one? Chief Human Resource Officer. I mean, or People Officer, whatever they want to rename it. I actually like Chief People Officer over Human Resource. What do you think?
It sounds a little less clinical, you know. I think it makes sense, but it sounds a little bit less like treating people like cattle in a way. I think is just, and that's the perception. So there is a perception part of it, but that's what I think I circled back to is I can always tell when someone has a position that they've come up with that they feel the number one push is how they feel about themselves and their identity. And then the other side is communication. And I just feel like it needs to be driven by communication for the people that need to know about you because you're doing business with them. Put them first, put your customer first, put your lead first, put your staff first, put people first and you second, and you'll start thinking about clarity. And I find the exact same problem with businesses over and over and over again, where it's internal language and it's about, again, their identity and what they think they want to put forth rather than how do I communicate with my customer. And I mentioned before on the show how important it's been for me to go through some serious processes of our positioning, and then to go from the serious processes on positioning into messaging based on the positioning. And everything is about your customer and what unique benefits do you offer them? What are you better at than anyone in the world? And the language and messaging is all based on communicating how it's to help them make a decision. And you're communicating, if you have this sort of problem, we're the best ones to help you. And if you don't, there might be other people that are better off in helping you, but we're going to help you make that decision. And we want it to be ultra clear that you know what we're best at. And I think it goes all the way down to the same philosophy of like titles and everything else, and the way you position your business and the way you message to your business, all about your client. It just has to be an obsession with your customers and making it clear to them.
Yeah, I only got about half of that because you kept using the wrong word for process. But
doesn't take long. I crossed the border.
Come on, Canadian Jim.
I think I told you. Did I tell you last week, or was I telling you someone else? I got the stink eye at a coffee shop the other day when I asked for an Americano. They kind of looked at me like, an Americano? Yeah. Like, yes. So anyway, it's kind of funny. They'll beat it out of me soon enough.
All right, so I think though, yeah, I think we made a major mistake when I changed my title. It was a big like buzzword at the time back at Finagraph. We changed my title to be in charge of customer success. Remember that when that came onto the scene?
Yep.
And what I think it should be is somewhere about the customer being successful, right? With using the product, with retention, with always being happy with what they see. And that's not the way we used it. We use customer success as anything that touches the customer, from sales all the way through to retention, which is, I mean, it's good, but maybe that's just a revenue officer, right? or something like that. It's something that I think that we narrowed it too much and it confused the market. And what I know about the market is if they don't understand what you do, they're not going to respond to you the way you want them to.
Yeah. And that seems like like we use the term customer success with like one of my staff is our director of customer success. we use that term, but it's very much on, how do you get the customer? We want them to be successful with the product, with the tool. And so it's almost like it's kind of, in the area code of, let's get you started. Let's get you implemented. Let's get you successful. Let's make sure we're here to answer questions. All of that used to be called customer support. I think support is very limited because really, there's so much more to being successful on a tool, like actually having success with it. And so I think it's actually a very good term, but I don't think it falls into the vein of, like you said, like the revenue side and the growth side, sales side. That seems to me like there's a line there. There's a dividing line, there.
Because they're not a customer yet, right? But what we thought about, and this is us at the time, we're talking about 2012, 13, 14, 15, whenever this terminology developed on the West Coast, is we thought and interpreted it as, what's the difference? If you're paying us or not paying us, it's the same person. It's your journey. We thought about the customer journey as being the thing you're responsible for.
Yeah, I just don't look at it that way, I think. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. It's like you outthink yourself a bit, because you can start, because I think, again, that's how I think teams can get off track with a lot of the ways that they communicate their business, they communicate titles and all of those, is because, again, you're going, this is how we view this. This is how, but how do people outside view you? And when you're talking about communication, who do I talk to and when? Not like, it's not about perception. It's about making their journey easier. Who should I talk to and when, and how can they help me with this, that, or the other, right? Am I a supplier? Am I a potential customer? Am I, like, who am I and what's the circumstance? And I think that was just, I just think it's like, I know it's like, there's sales here. It's okay to use the term sales. People understand it, and success. People understand it, but blurring the lines, I think, is where it can get kind of confusing.
All right. So let me see what you think this person does. If I just give you two titles that I saw today, as a matter of fact. Sure. One was a growth strategist. The other was a brand architect. What is that?
Okay, so if you're, I'm going to guess.
Look, he froze up right there.
So growth strategist.
Nobody,
right?
I mean, who knows what that means?
Yeah.
Growth strategist. What is that?
Now, okay, growth strategist. Now, I'm assuming that I'm going to take it as I'm in the neighborhood of business. If I'm in the neighborhood of business, because it could be, are you a growth strategist at the greenhouse? Is going to mean a totally different thing than if you're in business, in the business world, right? So already kind of vague. Yeah, it feels a little chief revenue officer-ish to me, I suppose, but it's I would look at, do you have, well, it's pretty simple. Do you have strategies in mind, or background that can help a business grow? Again, I'd be like, you can call yourself whatever the hell you want, but I better see your CV and know what you've done, because the spidey sense to me is always
resume for Americans.
Yeah. Resume. We also have resumes up here. They're somewhat interchangeable. Not exactly. But the
what is it that CV is? What curriculum vitae or what
curriculum
is that thing?
vitae is CV.
Vitae?
Curriculum vitae. It's basically a resume, but I think it may be a little bit structured, a little different with here's all the papers I've written, but I'm not totally sure about that. It's been a long time. I haven't had a resume since 99. No, probably 96. So I just don't need one, right? So it's like, I'm gonna write a resume for myself. No, but you like, again, like if I see growth, I'm like, yeah, okay, what have you done? And I want to know because I've mentioned this before. I don't take advice on the entrepreneur side from anyone that hasn't been an entrepreneur. Like if you call yourself a growth strategist, but you start blending and crossing the line into what you should do as a business, get lost. You've never done it. If they are very focused and they're an expert on, let's say, lead generation, and that's kind of how I picture it, then I want to know what your resume is. Like, I want to know your background, not I've read some blog posts in a book and I've got I've got a patented system. I named a system and I made this up. Okay, that's fine. What's it based on? And it better be based on, like you, a history of running businesses successfully, growing them. Like that is what I want to know. Everything else is bullshit to me. It's fluff.
All right. Two more. Ready?
Yep.
Digital transformation specialist and prompt engineer.
Okay. Well, the digital transformation, I've heard the term before. We're going to help you buy shit. I'm going to tell you what to buy for that's technology. Yeah. I don't know if that's that's what it feels like. There's probably way more to it, but it feels like I'm just going to tell you what to buy. And what was the other one?
Prompt engineer.
That is okay. I know it has something to do with prompts into AI. That sounds so much like the petroleum engineer. We used to remember back in the day, anyone who worked at the gas pump full serve would call themselves a petroleum engineer because it was funny, right? Like a petroleum engineer. And that's what it sounds like. That is absolutely, you're not an engineer, man. You're elevating it way.
When you tell me you're a prompt engineer, you're like going, you mean you know how to ask a question in ChatGPT?
That's exactly it.
You can type it in for me.
Yeah.
What?
It devalues it because it doesn't sound like you're engineering anything. It sounds like you're you work at the gas pump. That's how I see it. So.
All right. So I'm going to make fun of me right now. I don't like the term fractional CFO, fractional anything. Right. And I actually put it in one of my agreements last year. And I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore because really what I am is I'm a part-time. I'm part-time CFO. I'm part-time, whatever it is.
Yeah. I
don't know if I like the fractional part of it.
Yeah. Somebody came up with that term and it caught fire. It's one of those things where they've taken a phrase that everybody's known for the last 100 years, part-time, and they tried to elevate it. Fractional means the same thing,
Or I'm just a contract CFO. I mean, I don't know. With my last client, that's part of the problem is I'm not boots on the ground. There's some things that a CFO has to do, has to know, has to really be responsible for that a fractional or part-time person cannot, especially if they're remote.
Yeah. I think
the strategy can't get action.
Yeah. I think the part of that just from my experience over the last few years and I may ruffle some feathers, but I think the big thing that I find, it's not the fractional part, it's the CFO part. Because there are CFOs like you that have the chops, the background, the experience, and you are functioning as a CFO. Like you are, working in a business, helping give insight and helping them make business changing decisions. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's people doing bookkeeping and they're not doing much more than bookkeeping and they're calling themselves a CFO and everything in between. It's just this wide spectrum. And there's a real fundamental difference. And I think sometimes small businesses think they're getting more than they actually are. And can run into trouble because they literally don't have, they might have a stack of papers and some data. They do not have the insight they need. And it's because it's coming from people that have never, tell me about a CFO. Someone labels themselves a CFO. They've never owned a business and run it. Or at the least, they've never had that role, been tasked with that role and learned it the hard way and have worked through that. No, they go one day, it's like, I'm doing this. And the next day I'm labeling myself that. And it's like, you have no experience. You haven't done any of that. You're not offering information that's valuable.
And you might have seen this too, but the worst title I've ever seen is Chief Happiness Officer. What is that?
Well, okay. This is what came to mind. As soon as you said the Chief Happiness Officer. I'll tell you
what job they were doing. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I picture. As soon as you said Chief Happiness Officer, I picture Tommy Chong on That 70s Show. And it's more like your chief dealer is kind of a little bit what came to mind. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's what came immediately to mind. And that, there's something wrong when it's like, when you start using C-suite level terms where those are people in a room that are trying to make the decision on what is going to get a business to survive that next fight and that next day and make it through the war. And it just feels like, yeah, they're watering down. I don't know if it's true. That's the sense I get. That's when you asked me what I thought. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. Well, this happened to be, a C-suite position in a company I ran across. And I couldn't tell if they actually ran the company or they just ran the vibe of the company. Which one is it?
Yeah.
And they were somewhere in between human resources and operations. It was like a weird, new thing they created for that company.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I want to see. I think I'm like you. I'm a little bit more pragmatic. I want to see results. I want to know, and I want clarity from the top of the organization to the bottom of the organization. And I think some of these things really get in the way of that. And it just, like I said, my spidey sense tingles when it seems like is that a position they created because they actually are trying to change the makeup of their business, or is it a position they created to make it sound like they're trying to change it? Like perception versus reality. Is it, I want people to perceive us as this really enlightened business that cares about people, or do you actually care about people? And I think there might sometimes be a pretty big gap there.
All right. So I actually, one of the things I'm working with right now though is like the clarity and the responsibility and those type of things. And there's a big difference right now between the college degree somebody has and the job that they have. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Like, oh, wait a second, you're like an economist. Why are you in marketing? Or, something like that.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? I mean, when we're talking about title confusion, there's also experience confusion because you said, I want to know that you did it. Well, you did it, but you did something way different than what you're asking me to believe you can do today.
Yeah. And I think, again, I'm a little bit pragmatic there. I want to see what they've done in a business setting. I want to see, again, their resume. I don't really care about letters behind their name. I always get a little put off when I see a LinkedIn profile and someone will have their name and they'll have 16, 20 letters behind their name. And I'm not kidding with that. You've seen those where they've got all these letters behind their name. And I'm like, yeah, technically, but are you, it just feels to me like it's like you're trying so hard to somehow justify something rather than I want to see what you've done, not what course you took. Right. Like that's just me. I have 8 letters behind my name. 2 degrees. I have a master's too. It doesn't show up on anything. As far as I know, I don't think it's on anything. Because it's like it was education. I learned from it, but what I value is the experience of having put that into place and done something like, the fact I took a course, even though it was a long one, doesn't have the value of the experience in the trenches to me. And it's probably changed because I've got a lot of years in the trenches, freaking hard it is. Right.
Mhm.
That's just me. And so these are things that I don't know if other people respond the same way. I'm just saying how I respond. I just want it clear, to the point, understandable. And I want it as connected to who I'm talking to, what they're responsible for, and what you've done successfully.
Yeah. Well, but that's where, when you talked about the CV or the resume or anything like that, usually you can see a path, right? There's a path, there's a thread. And when these titles don't match, you're like, oh, damn, he went to here, to here, to here, to here. I mean, he's just like all over the place. How do I know that? I got one of those messy CVs, right? And that's probably one of those things I would want to tighten up if I ever need a job. I don't want a job. But if I ever need a job, that's what I would want to tighten up, because everybody like going, wait a second, he was this, that, and the other. And he's like, it's hard for people to see the path to understand I should take a chance on that guy. Education, job titles, they should all match somehow.
I actually, I'll be honest with you. I don't really see that. Like there doesn't have to be a flow. Like, I think that's it. I think there's interesting experiences. Like, I'm looking at yours. If I'm like, and I know some of your resume, right? And I look at those as a collective of experiences. And so when you say, like, you're in the military, state trooper, ran restaurants, ran hotel staffing, ran this business, was in software, I don't want to see a thread, because to me, if you said I ran a restaurant, and then I ran a restaurant, and then I ran a restaurant, and then I ran a restaurant, I'm like, okay, well, you better be looking for another restaurant job, because that's not, but if I look at your CV, I'm like, that guy has done a bunch of different really challenging things, has experience in all of them. That is someone that is valuable in a completely different vein. That's someone that you can plug and play and they can figure it out. Yeah. Right. It's not
a hiring manager thing, right? That's a hiring manager thing.
Yeah.
If I go, I don't know, Rack Spaces here in town, right? I'm only using them because it's a big company in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. If I go there, show them my resume, they won't see a path anywhere in any job description. And that's what they're looking for. The hiring manager is looking for the path.
They're looking for, it's like a chef in a high-end restaurant. I've been the executive chef here, and here. They're like, I might make a good executive chef. If they've done 50 different things
even though I failed 5 times.
And yeah, they may have failed 5 times, but they might be looking at, like, but if you see someone that's done a bunch of different things, but one of those was a chef 2 jobs ago, I don't know if that's great for an executive chef role. But if you're looking at, let's say, a startup, and I'm looking for someone that is able to adapt and likely cover more roles than one very specific one, because you have to in a small, lean business. I want that person, not that person's done nothing else besides being a chef, versus, okay, that person ran a ski lodge and then they were a chef, and then they were like a policeman. They've done all these things. Like, okay, they've done they adapt really well. That's not a bad thing. It's they're two completely different roles. And the thing is funny is like the example you gave is if you went and tried to get a job at Rackspace, you and I both know that would never happen. Right?
No.
Neither of us,
I know.
even if you and I wanted to go get a job, neither of us plug and play into an enterprise environment with a whole bunch of rules. We wouldn't be successful there. You could plug you or I into a highly dynamic environment, a startup environment, like a high stakes environment. We would do well because that's what we've lived with, right?
Private equity companies hire CEOs all the time. Like, hey, they could hire you to go run one of their companies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could plug and play into that environment.
Yeah. And they see that because it's like they've done lots of stuff. They have a wide range of experiences they can deal with. And it's just different. It's like two completely different CVs. And there's times where it's like, I want the expert. I want the doctor that's the knee doctor that has done 1,000 knee operations and is the best of that. Are they a specialist or are they a generalist? And they're just not one better than the other. It's where do you fit and what are you best at? And do you say does that come through, right? Does it come through with what you're looking at?
No, I think what you and I are the best at is clearing mud. Put me in a muddy situation. We can figure out how to clear the mud and give everybody some clarity.
Well, and I think
what I'm not good at. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that we're both, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs share this. We're both, I think, big picture thinkers, and like I tend to be good at big picture thinking. I tend to be good at making connections on things and observing things and going, I can take this and I can adapt it to that, and that all makes sense. What I'm not as good at is very detailed execution, where I go and I go and I go and I know exactly what to do. I stay focused. And I can do it forever. I'm not good at that.
Or it's repetitious. It's the same shit all day, every day,
exactly.
all day long.
I cannot.
Every day.
I'm not. I struggle with that
every day.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with that. And yet there's people that are, like I said, the chef that's been in, the sous chef, pastry chef, 10 different restaurants. Like, that's a good pastry chef. They're obsessed with being a pastry chef. They're like, it's different skill sets, right? And I think that should come through. But a lot of times I find when you got a really weird title, it just covers up the fact you've never done either. You haven't got a nice thread of doing a bunch of stuff, and you haven't got a really varied done a bunch of stuff. You haven't done anything. You just want people to think you are able to do something you haven't ever done.
All right. So for the first time ever, we're up against a hard stop. Blaine's got an important meeting. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So, hey, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't told your friends to subscribe, go do that now.
Like, subscribe, follow, go to mikeandblaine.com, buy us a beer. And I always forget, you can also email us at beer@mikeandblaine.com.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.